Apollo 13, wishing everybody there a nice evening, and we're just about ready to close out our inspection of Aquarius and get back for a pleasant evening at Odyssey. Good night.
13, we've got one more item for you when you get a chance. We'd like it to stir up your cryo tanks.
Okay, stand by.
Ignition, Flight.
Roger. Roger. Clock start, Flight. Roger.
Let's just go, all engines.
Roger. Okay, Fido, how's it look?
Looks good here, Flight. Good agreement.
Okay, Bruce, how do you look?
That's once he looks good, Flight.
Okay, Capcom.
Apollo 13 took off 3 days earlier on April the 11th, 1970.
Yeah, we're leaving, Flight. Roger.
The crew is Jim Lovell, commander, veteran of 3 previous missions. Fred Hayes, lunar module pilot, his first time in space. And Jack Swaggart, command module pilot, a late replacement for Thomas Mattingly, who had been exposed to German measles. Mattingly will watch the launch from mission control. Following their TV broadcast, Swaggart is instructed to turn on the fans which stir the oxygen tanks 1 and 2 in the service module. All is not well.
Okay, Houston, we've had a problem here.
Go guidance.
Houston, we've had a problem.
The crew reports a loud bang. The Accident Review Board will later trace this to damaged wires caused during pre-flight testing, causing the Teflon insulation to catch fire. 55 hours into the mission, Oxygen Tank 2 has exploded, affecting Tank 1 and the interior of the service module. The crew's concerns grow.
Yeah, now looks to me, looking out the hatch, so we are venting something. We are venting something out into space.
Flight Director Gene Krantz pools his team together.
Okay, let's everybody think of the kind of things we'd be vetting.
The Apollo team begins a series of calculations and simulations to try and understand the problem. As the situation develops, it becomes clear that the crew's oxygen supply is quickly depleting. The world waits for news.
At the moment, the astronauts are continuing to try to isolate their trouble. A late report says the spacecraft now is operating on battery power alone. All unnecessary equipment is being turned off.
The team realized that the LEM, Aquarius, is still unaffected.
Okay, now let's everybody keep cool. We got the LEM still attached. The LEM spacecraft's good, so if we need to get back home, we got a LEM to do a good portion of it with.
The crew transfer to the Lunar Excursion Module, never intended for any use other than the landing on the moon. The accident occurs 200,000 miles from Earth. Lovell, Swaggart, and Hayes ride in Aquarius, attached to the now lifeless command module Odyssey. A mission intended as a great scientific exploration is now a test of survival. To get back on course for home, Apollo 13 must continue around the backside of the moon. Out of correct orbital position, the lunar module must be used to control the whole spacecraft. Never before flown while still attached to the command module, the crew manually estimates a burn to alter their course. Oxygen supplies continue to fall. Electric power is running low. As a result, the temperature inside Aquarius becomes very cold. Apollo 13 passes within 137 miles of the moon. This is Lovell's second visit, but he will never set foot on its surface. Cold causes moisture on Aquarius windows. Air becomes toxic, saturated by poisonous carbon dioxide. This will need to be filtered if the crew is to make it home alive. Proving to be experts in crisis management, Apollo Support constructs a filter from the only materials available in Aquarius: cardboard, plastic bags, and tape. The instructions are sent up to the crew. The carbon dioxide pressure falls dramatically within an hour. A final correctional burn puts the crew back on course for the narrow corridor which will allow the command module to return safely. April 17th. The crew jettisoned the service module, and for the first time they see the damage caused by the explosion.
And there's one whole side of that spacecraft missing.
Is that right?
And the whole panel is blown out, almost from the base to the engine.
Really a mess. Man, that's unbelievable.
The crew climbs back into Odyssey, the command module, and abandon their life-saving LEM.
I'm jettison.
Okay, copy that. Farewell, Aquarius, and we thank you.
Re-entry. For what seems an eternity, the world awaits contact with Apollo 13. Then, in the blue skies above the Pacific, the tiny capsule carrying these extraordinary crewmen splashes down to huge celebrations. Apollo 13 has become a triumph of survival and the human spirit. The Apollo team can be proud of their ingenuity. But most importantly, the crew is home. January 31st, 1971. 10 years after becoming the first American in space, Alan Shepard prepares to command a mission to the moon. Stuart Roosa and Edgar Mitchell will accompany him. They will land at Fra Mauro, the intended landing site of the aborted Apollo 13. Apollo 14's launch and journey out of Earth orbit is faultless. However, difficulty does arise when the lunar module Antares attempts to dock with the command module Kitty Hawk. The docking mechanism will not lock. Back at Mission Control, the team struggles to find a solution to the problem. On the 6th attempt, however, success.
I got a hard docking.
The mission can continue. On February the 5th, the lunar module heads for the moon's surface with Shepard and Mitchell aboard.
And 3 feet per second, contact now. Is stop. Auto.
They land safely in the Fra Mauro region as planned. This area is expected to provide vital information about the origin of the planet, and perhaps even Earth. Alan Shepard steps onto the moon. He is joined by Ed Mitchell. As the pair begin their exploration, at Mission Control, scientists track their course using maps compiled from information gathered during previous missions. Scott and Mitchell set up their experimental laboratory. A small nuclear generator powers the equipment. A central station transmits data back to Earth. A seismometer detects movement on and within the moon. An independent experiment uses laser beams from Earth to take extremely precise measurements to assess continental drift and shifts of the Earth's crust. The command module, piloted by Stuart Roosa, continues to collect information during its lunar orbits. The images will help the planning of future missions. After 9.5 hours exploration and 33 hours after landing, the astronauts load up their samples and prepare to leave.
Gas sim engine is armed. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 0. We have ignition. What a liftoff. And liftoff. Roger, ignition.
Their journey home will be safe.
Contact light.
On July the 30th, 1971, David Scott and James Irwin land on the lunar surface. With command module pilot Alfred Worden, they make up the crew of Apollo 15. Scott and Irwin land on an undulating plain between what is known as the Apennines and Hadley Rill. After a night of rest, Scott and Irwin prepare for their lunar morning. Scott makes his way down the ladder of the lunar module Falcon. Irwin will follow.